I want to talk about winter scouting and then and planning a stand. And great time of year to scout. I always say I really like scouting right after the season ends. That's my favorite time because then that sign that you see is reflective more of the hunting season. So when I come into a location like this, it can be very misleading because this is a winter spot. It's down off the side of this hill, the deer out of the wind. They have points on either side. They can get in and out of the wind on either side. And then out here in the fields, a lot of the fields are starting to open up now. They have old frosted out alfalfa, which this time of year isn't that bad of a food source. And then they have corn out in those fields. The farmer, a local farmer, when they chopped corn for silage, they left a kernel of corn probably every 5 inches across the whole cornfield. It's scattered out there. So they have the ability to go out there now, especially with melting snow, find little bits of corn, get old alfalfa, and then they have this perfect bedding area down here. If I came here thinking, man, these deer are going in and out like they are right now, right up by where the side-by-side's at, it seemed like there was a little playground area for them. We had a lot of bucks sparring just in the last 2 weeks. It's February 14th, Valentine's Day right now. So it could be a little misleading. You look at all these pellets right here coming in and out. And I want to point out something real quick. We have big pellets here, small pellets here. What does that mean? Doe and fawn. If you have lots of concentrated big pellets, bucks. But we're not talking about that as much right now. I like this area because we have a steep draw coming up from downhill. And so with that steep draw coming up, that creates an opportunity to hunt because deer will be moving around that steep draw, especially bucks as they're cruising back and forth this way. The winter sign is opposite. The summer sign is opposite. Deer going out to the fields, coming back to bed, out to the fields, coming back to bed. I want to hunt deer, especially bucks, as they're cruising side to side here. So you have to ignore all this sign coming out. We have these great trills. They're filled with pellets because they're being used so much. We have great buck footage right over here from the reveal cameras that's showing lots of deer usage here. But I'm more concerned about it. It's almost like I have to ignore all this and I have to go down there. What I'm not going to ignore right now is I already figured because of lay of the land, because of bedding areas out that point, bedding areas out that point, that this will equal a great spot for bucks to cruise around this edge. So what I'm looking for, I almost have to ignore all the sign that's right here. I'm concentrated on rub lines and I'm concentrating on trails right around the stand location that I want to find, because although those trails might be being used during the wintertime, they're the exact same trails where I expect them to cruise that bucks that are cruising during the fall will use. I hope that makes sense. You're finding that spot on paper first, which makes sense, and then you're going in there and verifying that using winter sign to tell you where those deer, when they move through the area, because of the lay of the land, where they're going to move in front of your stand location. Again, I have to ignore a lot of the sign going out this way. I'm looking for sign that's parallel in the field edge, and then I can put a camera in there, and I don't expect a lot of use, but I'll put a camera in there, I'll put a mock scrape, I'll pick out that stand location. Again, those three go right together when you're picking out stand locations: mock scrape, stand location, and a spot taking camera. And then we'll watch, because when bucks move through here, even though they're going in and out, occasionally, whether they're getting pushed or they're just going out for a walk at night, they'll go through that area. And if I can verify that with a few mature buck pictures during the summer, then I know we can take them in this location during the fall, and it's a good spot to hunt. So we're gonna go in there, we're gonna ignore some of this sign right here. It's kind of cool, it's very deceiving. I'm looking around for sheds right now. We have a big shed hunt planned for Thursday. My buddy Mike's coming from Michigan, Dante might be here, Jen, and we're gonna really look for some sheds, and this will be one of the first places we start. But I'm kind of keeping my eye on the ground anyways, and we're gonna go in, and I wanna show you guys this spot. We'll see if we can find some trails that verify what we want, and even some rubs, because the rubs, although some of those rubs could be from wintertime, maybe even February, there's a lot of bucks hanging out here. We can look at those rubs, see if they're shavings under the snow, approximate when those rubs are made, but most likely those rubs are largely made, especially if they're not on all wispy trees where they're going to rub during and small diameter whips that they rub during early September when their velvet comes off. They're going to be rubs on good hard trees, and they're going to be stout timber. So I want to look for those rubs. Those are more cruising rubs. Not that a buck will visit back to that rub, but he'll use those same trails if they're in a spot that we've pre-scouted and think they should be cruising in the first place. So I'll look at those rubs that were likely made in late October, November, early December when the second rut hits, maybe even the third rut in early January. Let's go take a look in here, maybe even pick a tree, maybe even find a good spot to hunt for this fall. Well, sure enough, we come down here and really the best trails are right here where we expected them to be. We actually have an old 2-track, which creates a bench, and the deer sign on this is incredible, and we have those rubs to go along with it too. So that's something I'm looking for. Interestingly, we find old rubs here, and we find trees that are scarred. They show they've been rubbed for years, and then we find fresh rubs, even to the point where there's shavings in the middle part of the snow, meaning we've had snow melt, but there's shavings, long shavings from rubs that are in that middle layer. So that we didn't get snow till middle of December, so that would tell me obviously that those rubs were created, at least the one we were looking at would have been middle of December, end of December. But there's a lot of other sign in here, old sign that goes back and forth. We've had a stand right over here, about 100 yards on a water hole, and we know there's a lot of movement through here. We know by having other cameras in this location, this is a great spot. So there's a lot of other reasons to put a stand here, but when you come in here and we have this monster runway here that's flanked with rubs, it would have been from during the hunting season, whether they're December or November. I'm sure we have November because we're right up here watching them. So we have trails here, we have an X of trails, we have trails right up there. So within, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, probably within 30 yards trails coming through here. So it's a really cool spot. And what I like about this is we can get right on the drop off here, and with more westerly winds, which we're always looking for good west wind stands, it blows it right off the cliff here. It just drops down drastically from here. So that helps us manage our wind. Doesn't matter what we smell like, once we get in here, we're blowing our scent that way, then it's a great stand location. What I like about this too is that really easy to put a camera here and figure it out. We can find many different locations to put a mock scrape. Heck, we might put one on this dead branch right here, right over the trail. But bottom line is, we can get in and out of this. We do not have food right up here. We have switchgrass cover, a big switchgrass bank. We don't have food to walk through or walk by to get in here. So to me, we could chip into there, get really close into here for even a morning stand or an evening stand. So we're always looking for those stand locations we get in for either. I like this. We look up towards the field. There's a big brushy line right up here with our switchgrass. We have a rabbit hut right up there. So a lot of thick cover here, and even for a gun stand, we could slip in here, look upwards. And it's kind of thing when I'm starting to think now, because we have this beautiful white oak here, might add one of Jack's ladder stands from Family Tradition. That might be a perfect fit in this stand location for us to maybe potentially sit all day in real comfort. For a nice gun stand, let alone a bow stand. And here in Minnesota, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on the way you look at it, the gun season begins the first Saturday in November, which is prime time rut. So this might be a prime time stand for that time period. And we can stick a camera on here now in the off season, see when a buck comes through here, if he's indeed coming here, get him patterned right here with a mock scrape all summer long. So every time he comes in, he finds that mock scrape, he leaves the scent on it, and that pattern will repeat during the fall, and that's what we like to see. So wintertime scouting, it's a little bit different. You have to ignore some of the sign. You have to know what sign to prioritize. Again, we're prioritizing rubs. We're prioritizing any scrapes we see along here, and which we need the snow to melt a little bit. We're gonna add a scrape, we'll add a camera. Those rubs are awesome. They're definitely made from the hunting season, whether it's December or earlier. A lot of sign here right now. There's deer beds here too. So we know the deer when they come through here, this is our main trail to use. It's right where it's supposed to be, right before the drop off. And we're probably from the field edge about 80 yards back, 70 yards back. So we're right in that wheelhouse from where a buck will cruise on the top of this ridge line and put them right in front of our tree stand. So fun having this wintertime scouting, and it's fun seeing this sign. I'm gonna get out of here because we're gonna come back and shed hunt here. And I feel guilty finding sheds when we have that shed hunting coming up here on Thursday. I want Mike and Jen to find the sheds. I don't really care too much. And we'll enjoy hiking and checking out some more of this sign, some of this great winter sign in preparation for this coming hunting season. It'll be here fast, and we can't wait. Hey, I'm really excited to introduce to you our Hills and Thermals web class. It's something we worked on all year. We're trying to put lots of facets of scouting, aerial imagery, diagrams on the whiteboard to really teach you how the wind moves through hills and how you should find bedding areas, how it relates to deer movements in general, how that relates to, this is a bedding area stand, this is a food source afternoon stand. We really tried to put this together and offer you a complete picture of how to navigate hills and find better success consistently where you hunt.